Hi guys, Isu and welcome back to another video. Today is Bookish Advent Calendar day number 4 and today I'll be doing some suggestions for you to add to your Christmas list. So I'll be talking about books of different genres, different ages, books that I love that I think you should put on your Christmas list if you like it, okay? So it's gonna be a little bit of a long video because I'm watching my floor and I see a lot of different books that I pick up, and then I have some few on my phone that I don't have physical copies. So yeah, I'll put timestamps on the description so you can skip to the genre or idea that you like. I have reviews of the books all in the channel, most of them, so I will link up here down below the playlist of reviews, and I'll link the books that I talked down below if you want to check the full review for details. And now let's go to the books, and I think I'll start with thrillers, which is one of my favorite genre. And my first recommendation is Robert Brinza, and could be The Girl in the Ice, which is the first one on the Erica Forster series, or Nine Helms, which is the first on the Kate Marshall series. Now, they're a little bit different. So, starting with Nine Helms, she was a police that was caught in the Nine Elms cannibal story, and after some years, she's still recovering from that incident, but she's now a professor of criminal law. But then a copycat appeared again, and she's trying to solve what happened, and because she feels like she could be next, because a little bit of a vengeance type. Although the man who commit those crimes are in jail, you know, there is this a little bit of PTSD. The continue of the series, this is a series of books, you can read it individually, but I think if you read by order, you get a little bit more of their personal stories. She becomes a private detective, and she will try to solve mysteries, you know. It's not as engaging as the first one, but it's a very good series. But if you want to follow the full detective story, I have The Girl in the Ice, which is the first one on the Erica Forster series. She comes into London to work because after a problem in her last post, there was this bust that didn't work as well, and she lost her husband and some colleagues. She now recovered, and now she's turning back to this killer where a rich girl ended up in a lake death and in the ice, hence the name. So she needs to find the killer, and she's trying to prove herself to the superiors that she can cope with the pain and the suffering that she has. And that is the thing that will go through the series. You see her growing through that pain to that memories of her husband and moving to a new city and all of that. And I think that is what I like the most about the series. There are super fast reads. The Robert Brinza writing style is super engaging. You don't have those flourish on thrillers that you have pages of nothing being done. Here is very cut to the pace that is this and this and this, and you're moving. You keep reading and you keep finding new evidence, new reasons to keep reading, to keep moving the story. So you get engaged and you finish these books very fast. So it's one of my first recommendations. The series are amazing. So if you want, check any of both because they are very good. Now, if you want to go a little bit to a book that is a little bit of a classic and you want to try a Stephen King novel, I would say Misery is a great choice. It's one of my favorite books by the author. It's a great book to be a thriller because the horror that he has is a horror that is psychological but also physical, and it doesn't have fantasy, so it's a horror that could be real. So in Misery you have Anna Wilkes, who saves her favorite author, on this case kidnaps, and makes him rewrite a book that he wrote because he ended up killing her favorite character, which is Misery. And you get this psychological warfare between them. He trying to escape, she pushing him, and she's going a little bit nuts. He discovers things about her past, and it's a very engaging, very dark book dealing with PTSD, things like that. So it's one of my recommendations. It's one of my favorites by the author, and it's a very, very good thriller. Like one of the classics of the genre and definitely of the movie. So you can pair this with the movie and then compare both of them. Now, these next two books are books by the same author that I loved. I read first one and then the other. So I will recommend The Last Thing to Burn by Will Dean or Firstborn by Will Dean. So both by the same author. So let's start with The Last Thing to Burn. Like you can see here, he is her husband, she is his captive. So what I remember, it's a very small book. It has like 300 pages, 200 and something, so it's a very fast read. And we got this girl who is kidnapped, or is sold to this farmer in this town, very remote, and she's basically a slave. She has to do everything that he wants. He cannot upset him. She cannot run because each time that she runs, he has one of her things burned and she's running out of things to remember. It's a very fast-paced book, very entertaining, in the sense that it's captivating you, her story and why she's doing it. And then there is a twist that happened that make her question if she can really live with that and if she can really trust him. It's a very, very interesting story, plot. It captivated me to the author, and that's why I keep reading his books. So this was my first choice. But then you also have Firstborn if you want to see something that is a little bit different. And so in Firstborn we have twin sisters that one of them ended up being killed. So I don't remember her names, but Molly lives in London and her sister ended up dying in New York. So she goes with the parents and she's trying, and Molly has a really obsession of safety. She changes charger every month. She doesn't fly in this, so she's very obsessed with security and safety. But then she ends up going into this obsession of her sister and trying to solve her murder and try to see what happened to her. And I cannot say what the twist is here, but the twist caught me like, what the fuck? Because the twist was like mind-blowing. It's one of the best books I've read ever. In terms of thrillers, it's one of my favorites. It's also super fast-paced, super captivating, because you get in this spiral of vengeance that she has, and then you get to the end, you're like, damn, you're not expecting this. So if you want some thrillers, definitely pick Firstborn or The Last Thing to Burn by Wildin. Both are great choices, but if I had to pick just one, I would go with Firstborn. If you're looking for an audiobook as a thriller, I would suggest Sadie by Courtney Summers, because the edition that this book has on audiobook is just stunning. So the Sadie story is about a girl who went to search about her missing sister, and she's like 17, 18, and she is running the country trying to find answers about her sister who was kidnapped and disappeared. She has a very, very particular condition. She stutters, so it makes the book very interesting on the point of view of listening, because you see her acting like that. But then we have This Is the Past, because in the present there is a reporter doing a podcast about Sadie, why Sadie disappeared, because she disappeared and no one knows where she is. So we have the two timelines, and then the audiobook is so well produced because you have a really podcast line. You have like the intro, like you're listening to a podcast, and then you go to the Sadie, and then you go to a full cast. So good. I still remember there are some shocking moments, there are some twists, and then the end I think is where most people will be like, what? And most people will be angry because it's not what you expected, and will leave you like, I don't know what to think. But I would recommend. This is an amazing audiobook. It's very well produced, and if you're just looking for an audiobook, make sure you listen to Sadie. This one is part of a series by this author. I read it alone, and you can definitely read it, and I read it more because I like Law and Order and definitely the court scenes, and so my recommendation is 13 by Steve Canavan. So what is interesting about this book, you have multiple POVs, and there is this man who is in trial for murdering, I think, someone. I don't remember, but he was murdering someone. But then you have the defense lawyer, who is our main character, who is trying to solve this and try to save him because he believes that he's innocent. And then we have the POV of the killer, who, plot twist, and it's in the beginning of the movie and on the book, so you know this, it's not a spoiler, but he's part of the jury. So he made himself into the jury so he can prosecute and he can manipulate the jury to sentence the innocent guy. So it was a hell of the story, because you get twists, you get the discovering why, and then when you start thinking you know who the jury is, because you don't know personally who the jury is, the killer, you never know. I was captivated by reading it on the Kindle. I could not stop until I had the answers, and I love it because it's also a court based book, and I love court shows like Law and Order and things like that because I love the court scenario and things like that, like objection, things like that. So yeah, I will recommend totally this one because it's very, very good. The next one I recommend for you as a thriller is from a Norwegian author and is I'm Traveling Alone by Samuel Bjork. This is what I say, it's one of the best Norwegian thrillers, and when I say why do you think Norwegian thrillers are better, I say always because they are more grim dark, they are more intense. So in this we have two main perspectives. We have two police investigators, Holger Munchen and Mia Kruger. And Mia Kruger is a brilliant detective but troubled. She's planning to kill herself. And I think Munchen has like problems also. So I like troubled characters. And there are young girls found dead in the trees and dressed like angels. So the book is intense. It's big. This edition is like almost 500 pages, but you start not only dealing with the mind of this psychopath, but also to the problems that the main characters have, especially Mia. You start in this circle with her, but then you see how brilliant she is, and then you are captivated by the story, and you're trying to find who he's doing this, why he's doing this, and what happened at the end. Is like, it's a whole book, and I don't know, it's twisted, it's dark, it's grimy. It's one of the things I like in thrillers. Sometimes it's this grim dark these grim dark stories with very twisted minds. Yeah, this is a very good recommendation. It's part of a series. He has, I think in English he has 3 or 4 books already published, so it's a good recommendation for a good thriller. Now, if you are in the mood to see a book, to read a book and see a movie, this movie is not the best, but I really like the book, which is Before I Go to Sleep by C.J. Watson. This has an adaptation with Nicole Kidman, which is a little bit different from the book. So we have this woman named Christine that each night that she falls asleep, she forgets her life. So she resets to a moment of her life in the past. So every day it's new. So her apartment is forward, she wakes up and it's apart, and she's laying in bed with someone she doesn't know. She doesn't recognize her face because she's older than she thinks she is, and she has post-its on saying like, this is real, na na na, and talking like that. And then we see the husband, who is very loving, and then we discover that she has seen a psychologist or psychiatrist who calls her and says, you won't believe me, so if you go there you will see this. And she's writing a diary of her memories of those days, and every day she rereads them to try to remember what she's been doing so she doesn't forget. And I think that was interesting because she's not a reliable narrator, but also when she's trying to find the answer why she's like that and what happened to her and what is happening, and the twist at the end, I was like, oh my god, this is like, and I loved it. It's one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I got this signed edition on secondhand on a bookstore. I was like, oh my god, I need to have it because I had like a mass market paperback. I was like, no, I need to have a hardback because this book is so amazing, because the journey that she has, the memories that you're reading with her is so captivating. I will recommend this one because it's so much, a lot more psychological than the others, which are more criminal. This is very good. We move to an author that, you see, I have a lot of recommendations for you, so you will live here with a lot of books for your Christmas list. Is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I read Ashley Winstead's first book, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, with part of my book club, the Genre Book Club, and we all ate it. We didn't like that book, we didn't understand why people loved it. And I said, oh well, I will read her new thriller, and Natalie was supposed to read her new romance. And I read this thriller, and this really is everything that I wanted. So, we have this woman who is married with a success man, and she's living her best life, and then I think a friend from college appears dead. And she contacts this reporter, and I think he's part of her past, to try to discover what happened. And we ended up in this cult and this sex club life. Then we discover about her past, about the cult that she was in while in college, like this controlling minds and this controlling obey thing, the manipulation that this happened and this had, and then everything that she's going through again to try to find the killer and to stop this cult is amazing. I think the story is like mind-blowing for what it is, for the, not the gruesome, but you know, this obsession, control, manipulative. I would say, now that I read The Story of Blood, a little bit drawing about that, about this power dynamics, about that controlling situation, your mind, but in this life of cult with it's amazing. I really wish this was the book we read, because it was amazing comparing to the other one, and it's a good recommendation. I'm ending the thriller recommendations with one of the authors that I really like, which is Peter Swanson. I have here 9 Lives and the Rules for a Perfect Murder, or the 8 Perfect Murders, which I did a project in my first year of booktube, and 9 Lives, which is one of the most recent ones he has. So 9 Lives is a retelling, or is inspired by And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Follows the same principle, where they are marked to that, they receive a letter with just names, and they start appearing that. And then we follow, I think, a detective, or because she also receives the letter and she's trying to find what is happening, and then we go back and forth between the different people and POVs until they die. And I thought it was so interesting, this twist on this classic of Agatha Christie. I don't remember the reasons, and that's good, because it means I can reread it soon, because I don't remember a lot of it, but it was a very good story. I remember and really enjoyed, because I was like, maybe it's not going to be so good, you know, I've not been so lucky with Peter Swanson lately, but it was a very good, interesting, and a twist on that classic, and the reasons, and it was a very good pace. But one of my favorite books by the author is Reason. It's Rules for a Perfect Murder of the 8 Perfect Murders, and this is, spoiler ahead, is with classics of the literature. So if you plan to read those classics on the book, don't read them, because he will spoil the story for you. But basically, he had posted, the main character, I think is Malcolm, his name, posted a list on his blog, because he owns this thriller mystery bookshop, and he posted in a blog post the 8 books that he considered has the perfect murders, and there is someone who is doing that list, and so we have this FBI agent try to solve this case with his help, but then we see that he's not as good as we think he is. He has some dark secrets as well. We see there is a lot of twists here. You get a lot of different parts of the story, and everything is connected, and I think it was my first experience with the author, and it's one of my favorites. This book is just so captivating and so well written, and then you get the classic references, and then you go to these twisted stories. I think it's a very good read, and if you want to add more Christmas and you are scared to pick one of the thrillers, it's one of my favorite best of all time, so make sure you add it to your Christmas list. So let's move to fantasy. And my first recommendation for you, it's a book that is very well known on booktube, that is Mistborn, The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. It was my first in getting to high fantasy with a lot of lore and a complex magical system. So in this world, as you may know, but in this world, the villain won the story. So in the beginning, the villain won and is control the world, is Lord Ruler, and it's very powerful. And in this world, the magic system depends on it's a metal-based magic system. So certain persons can ingest a certain metal and use that metal to do magic. And the magic is connected to the type of metal. Someone can push objects, someone can pull objects, and someone can sense other people doing this magic. Someone can block that, and then there are the ones who call Mistborns, who can use all the different metals at once, and all of them. So it's very interesting. It's a very big book, and it's a trilogy over 500 pages, but the action scenes are amazing. The world building is outstanding. The characters are dynamic, they are complex. You're always on the edge. You're always checking your how it's gonna end. And you know, I finished the first book, mind blowed. We go to the second, and then you go to the third, and in the end you're like, what now? because it was an out of this world experience, and I will recommend, if you want to try to give someone into high fantasy or in this fantasy world, this is a great recommendation, because it's complex but at the same time so well explained, and you get into it that it's a very good entry for this. If you are in the mood for something shorter but also very fast-paced book, I will recommend The Book Eaters by Sunny Dean. This is a release from last year which I read and love it. In this world there are a quality of people who are book eaters, so they don't feed on food, they feed on books. And these families are very powerful but very subtract from society, and they have an infertility problem, which makes the females very rare and precious. But there is a side of this world that is sometimes children are born with the ability of eating people's mind, and it's very interesting. So the main character, Devon, has one of those children, and she's trying to run from the family she's trying to was sold to because of this arranged marriage, and she's trying to find the cure, because there is some like a potion that can cure or can withdraw that desire of eating people's mind. So Devon is on a mission. There is a very fast-paced story. It's passed in like 2 days in a total, so it's a very fast-paced story. You have here a great representation about asexuality and non-binary people. Some pop references like in video games like Final Fantasy, Tomb Raider. It was an amazing experience. The book is very fast-paced. You'll get a little bit of a forbidden romance, and a romance that is flourished then in the reconnection of them. I really like the idea of and the concept of it, and plus with being so fast-paced and a short read, it's like 300 pages. Less than that, so it's a very fast and easy pick that you will start in an afternoon and finish it, and you will feel like this book was very interesting, and you get new ideas and new experiences, and I really recommend this one. Another fantasy trilogy which I really enjoy, and it's very popular and it's getting new sequels, is A Dark Shade of Magic trilogy by V. Schwab. I love these books. It was my first experience. I'm trying to see if I can find artbacks or beautiful editions of this, because it's amazing. So there is multiple Londons in this fantasy world, and main character Cal can travel through this world. He has a special ability, and he's from a different race that can travel this world. So you have the Red London, where he's from, where magic is normal. You have the Grey London, which is we'll consider our London, where there is no magic, the Black London, who fall into the magic and magic destroyed, and White London, who is dying from lack of magic. So through the 3 books we see a lot of characters and we see a lot of growth, although I didn't like that much the second one, because I feel it was a little bit of a filler. I liked it at some parts, but towards the end there was some, like, if you could divide it and put it in between book 1 and book 3 will make a good duology. I think book 2 is a little bit more but I really like the first one. It's very intense and very a quest to discover and to survival, and the book 3 is like best. And I think what it captivates me more is the lack of characters you have here. None is good, none are bad. It's a little bit, everyone is a little bit gray. We have good representation here. We get a cool magic system which involves blood and this like sort of magic. You know, it's hard to explain because it's so fantastical, and I read it in a long time. I will want to do a reread now with the sequel because to refresh me, but the magic was always so intense and so interesting to follow that I really enjoy and connected. The revelations you get, the ideas, and then the power plays we got, it was very good. It was a very good trilogy that I think I did all 3 reviews here on the channel. So if you want, looking for something that is not so high as Mistborn, but definitely not as small as the Book Eaters, go for this trilogy. Fantasy that I'll recommend, it's a new release, which is GodKiller by Anna Kanner. It's a review that I'll be posting soon, like couple of days, but this was my recent read. I really enjoy it because it was a fast read, very captivating story, multiple POVs, and the setting is interesting because gods versus humans, and then power plays and treasons, and you know, you're always on the edge of your seat, and it's so fast paced with a lot of action that you're always captivated to read more. I think this is a new release that's gonna get a sequel soon, so you definitely can add this one, get this one, and then probably next year you get the second one because you got this one and you will fall in love because it's so fast, so captivating. The characters are so distinguished that you're always on the edge, and sometimes you're like, who is telling the truth? Who can I trust? So I will recommend add GodKiller to your Christmas list. As you can see, I'm adding new and older releases, so definitely one trilogy that's getting a second trilogy that I think finished this year is the Caraval series by Stephanie Gruber. I listened to the old trilogy this year and I fell in love with it. Not that it's so high fantasy, but I love the setting of being a little bit night circus, but with a plot, I'll say. So the first book, we got Scarlet, who runs away from home with her sister to this caraval, and if they win the game they get a wish, but her sister is kidnapped. So for her the mission is to rescue her sister during the game, and you got these players, you got to play the game, and the game is a lot of stakes in it. And then we move through the trilogy and you see there is a lot more than just a game. It's a stake of life and death. We got a cool system then with the deck of destiny. You got a lot of different things. And then I guess the second one was the one most interesting for me because the POV of Scarlet's sister is definitely a difference between the two sisters. And then you get the third, and I think the third is like when everything unveils. I just wish we had more connection with this system of the deck of destiny, because I think it was so interesting that I wanted more of it than just what we had. But it was super interesting, super dynamic, and the audiobooks are so well narrated that it's a very good option that you could go for an audiobook, you go for a walk, and it's so entertaining that I always felt like I wanted to listen to more because it was never enough what I was getting. So yeah, it's one of my recommendations for you. It's to get Caraval. It's a trilogy, but it's so fast and so entertaining that you will get these vibes of Caraval mystery but also adventure that you maybe want for to give to someone or to yourself in this Christmas. One that I didn't do, this one I didn't do review here on the channel, I think, and I think I didn't do it on Bookstagram, but it's Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. This book is night circus, definitely the vibes, you know, but instead of a circus you have this hotel with magic, but it has a plot that is super interesting. So what I remember, we have in this city where the sisters, we have two sisters and they are fairly poor, and you have this hotel, and the hotel travels each day to a different location in the world, and there is people can buy tickets, and I think their mother got a ticket and was experienced, but after that they forgot what they experienced because they cannot talk what happened inside the hotel, but they ended up working there, and they start to see that the hotel is not what it seems. It's very magical. You have some during the beginning of the book until the middle where the action starts to packing and you start to see the plot. You get the vibe of Caraval. You have the vibe of everything being so magical, being so whimsical, a little bit flourish this, flourish that. And I really liked it because of that, because it gave you that sensation of wonder. You know, every room was different and you never know what we'll get. But then the plot starts moving and you start seeing the pieces of this puzzle and what is at stake and the consequences and the magic, and it's a ride, and I really enjoy it. It's one recommendation that I think it's not very talked. It was a little bit talked, I remember seeing some videos, but I think it should reach more love because it's very good and it will be very popular. It was a read that it was a must read for me. And my last recommendation for you for fantasy is a book that was released, I believe, last year or beginning of this year, but already got the sequel, which is One Dark Window by Rachel Gilead, and I love the first one. It was like Caraval vibes, you know, with cars and magic. And then I read the second one, which has a review on the channel. I didn't like as much because of a POV that I didn't matter that much, but the books are amazing. It's just a duology, so it's a very simple read. You don't have a lot of series. It's not a trilogy, so it's just 2 books, and the books are very captivating to read. It's very fast paced. So in this world, to explain a little bit the story, there is a disease. There was a shepherd king who created a deck of mystical cards, and because of that there are a disease now in the world that will kill you or give you powers, but these powers are forbidden except when the king wants something. So people are killed or sent away because of its a blasphemy. But the king wants to reunite the deck so he can free the world of this disease or gain power of it. So each card has a different use. So for instance, the chalice can make you tell the truth. You have the nightmare who can make you see inside other people's mind. You have, I don't know, the maiden who can make you handsome. So you have these ideas, and our main character has a particular ability. She got the fever, she has magic, but no one knows because it's not a magic that it could be exposed. She has a voice in her head, this monster as she's called it, because it's part of her. And during the first book, she is discovered because she can see these cards, and she can see the colors and try to decipher where the last cards are. So the reason of the book is that you have this rebellion that she joins to try to overthrow the king and save the kingdom of this disease and seize this power hunger king. So it was a very interesting first book. The second book was the conclusion, the hunt for the last card. You got to see a lot more of the lore of this world, about the deck, how it was created, the reasons, what happened in the past. And I think it was very interesting, except for one of the POVs that I didn't care personally until it was important, but it was a very interesting ride. It really reminded me of Caraval because of the cards. The writing is very well executed, the characters are so different and complex, and I think what worked for me was the romance was not rushed, the romance was very well constructed, and I think it was developed enough to feel real for me, and that's what I liked it the most about this, was that the romance felt nature. So yeah, these are my recommendations for fantasy. Okay, I will do now two mangas and two young adults or middle grades, whatever you want to call it, suggestions to add. So if you're looking for a manga that you're trying to get into manga, I would suggest one manga that is very high paced and it was captivating in the first volume. I don't know how it ends. I haven't read the second or the third. I have them. I haven't had the time. But from the first, I really like it, and it's The Promised Neverland. This one is about this school who has these kids, and from time to time a kid disappears until more kids are brought. And then they understand that this is when they discover that this is not a normal school and they have to escape. I wouldn't say more because to spoil you, but there is twisted. There is definitely not a book for, imagine, small kids, because it's very dark and grimy, but this is definitely a good pick to, if you want to dive into manga, it's a very good pick for this. But if you're not sure because it's dark or it's maybe horror thing, you may go to one of my classics, which is Sailor Moon, or Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. This is one of my favorite TV shows growing up. I love the manga. You know, the TV show from the 90s dives in a little bit more on their relationship between the girls, and you see their friendship flourish a little bit more than in the mangas, but the mangas are shorter and it goes straight to the story a little bit more in the lore, explaining the things more, but you get the villains, they're killing the bad guys, and a little bit of a story of love and forbidden love, and you know, the reincarnations, and I really like Sailor Moon. It's a really recommendation for manga. Now, if you're looking for books for younger people, I would say one of my favorites is the Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. I read it and I loved it. I read the second one and I love it. I devoured this in like 48 hours, like straight to the point. It's the magic system. I cannot touch this book very much because you see, you don't see it, but it's glittery. So it has a lot of glitter and it goes to the hands, but the book is super captivating. The magic system, her story, the way she goes. So this is a part of her brother disappeared and everyone thinks it was drugs and things like that, but she doesn't believe it, and she arrives and she has a bag to go to this academy to become one of agents to the supernatural, and part of where her brother was. So when she touched the ball or the crystal ball to get assigned to a different, I think magic power or intense or magical. She discovers she's like one of the forbidden magics, like because she's a mage and mages are dangerous and it's forbidden. So she deals with not only being black and racism, but also being different in the magic world. And then you have some treasons, you have some twists here. It's a very captivating story. The second book is also very good. I'm waiting for the third one because this will make any kid want to read, because it's a very fascinating story and it's all of we like it as kids, you know, this magical school, learning, discovering and pro yourself, and then you have the big guys, the big bad guys. So it was a very good story and I would recommend this one. Now, if the kid is a little bit more on the creepy side and you want to be something more creepy or horror, I'll say Coraline by Neil Gaiman. The other book is super scary, and the book is like, it has some illustrations and you can see the illustrations are scary as hell also. But Coraline moves to this house and she discovers a door to another world, a world where her mother and her father give her attention, until she discovers that the mother is planning to do something to her that is super creepy, and she has to fight her back to go back to her normal life and restore her parents. So it's a very fast pace, it's a very... And you can also go pick the book and then the movie and compare it and have fun, because the movie is also very good. So this is one of the recommendations for, you know, younger audiences, but also if you want something more, a little bit short or light. Because this is not a light book in terms of it has this big monster in it, but it's super cool. I want to go more to the contemporary romance side, joining everything together. So one of the books that I will just talk very briefly, because I believe you all have this on your on your Christmas list. If you don't have it, you already bought it, and it's The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. One of my favorite books of all time. I love the setting of Hollywood, the 50s, the 60s, the golden age of Hollywood. You see the backstage of the producers and everything. I really like the dynamic. I was not expecting the twists that happen in this story. So following Evelyn Hugo as she's become this amazing actress and what she's trying to accomplish and what she's willing to do to be this amazing actress is amazing. But you already know the story, you already seen a lot of people talking about, so this is a good recommendation. But if you're looking for something very similar to Evelyn Hugo, I would suggest City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. It sets more or less in the same period of time, and we have this young girl in the 40s, Vivian, who is going to live to New York with her, I think it's aunt, which is like a owner of this theater, and she's trying to live her life for the first time. So living this southern life and trying to become independent, strong women. And then we go to the war setting and how she lives during the 60s, and then there is this romance that she's trying to, that I think the daughter of the man is trying to solve what she was to her father. And it was a very style of Evelyn Hugo story and empowering of a woman, what it means to being empowered, to have your own sexuality, to own your own body, to own your own life. And I think this was very good, and this is one of my top recommendations for you to add to your Christmas list. We'll move to a classic, which is The Color Purple by Alice Walker, which is having now a new movie, which is the musical release this December. So The Color Purple is the story of Celie, who is separated from her sister, who is going to Africa, and she's writing her letters, but she never gets a response. She's on this abusive marriage, and until she comes this actress and singer who the husband falls in love, and she also falls in love with her, and with that actress she's starting to become more aware of her sexuality, of her own life, and she starts to gain power. The 90s movie with Whoopi Goldberg is like perfection. The book is so captivating. I read the Portuguese edition, and it has like how they would speak, because you know she's writing but she's not literate, so she writes as she speaks, and I believe the English version should be the same. And I think it was so interesting to understand what she's been through, and it's so sad, so hard, but also so amazingly done. It's really a really good recommendation for this one. In the same style, you can go to The Help by Catherine Socket. It has also a movie adaptation, which I love. Viola Davis, Octavia Spencer are amazing in those roles. We cannot say, but it's amazing. So The Help is a story of Skida, who comes from college and she doesn't want to be like the other girls, married and just have children. She wants to be a writer, and she decided to try to publish a book about stories of the Help. So the 60s black women who work for the white woman, they're very poorly and very bad treated, how they were very bad treated and, you know, a little exploited, and more than slavery, because it is more than slavery, because they were not paid enough. But then we have all sides of the story. We have the Octavia Spencer's character from the book, Minnie, who works for this new lady who doesn't know, she's like a bimbo, or from like very naive, but she's trying to fit in high society, but also she has some dark secrets, but she forges very big alliance with Minnie. We have the, I think it's Evangeline or Evelyn, something like that, which is a Viola Davis character, which is very impacting, very strong, and very heartfelt story. And then we have Skeeter, who's writing this, and I think the book is so good. I love the movie, so it's a very good recommendation for Christmas. Now, if you want just a fluffy romance, I will go to The Readers of Broken Will Recommend by Katrina Bivald, which is it's a European author, and this is a story about a woman. I don't remember her name, but she's snail mailing with an older woman from Broken Will in the United States, and they decided she comes visit her. And the European woman, like, she's young, but she's very shy. She only writes to read. She works in the library, and the parents are a bit ashamed. They're like, "Oh, you haven't done anything big with your life." When she arrives to Broken Will, her friend is dead. She died of old age. So, but the community said, no, she wanted to stay, you stay in her house. And she starts to build this foundation for her, and she also discovers that there is no library there. She opens her own bookshop. She's trying to make people read and follow, and it's a cute romance. There is a romance with this sort of cowboy. I loved it. One of my favorite romances that I've read, and I really enjoy it. So it's a good pick. I don't see people talking about it. I think people will enjoy it more if they know more about it. Now, if you want to something more historical, I will recommend The Roman Empress, a novel of Tsarina Maria Fedoranova by C.W. Gutner. He writes about female historical fiction, and it's a thing going a little bit like Philippa Gregory, where you tell her story by her point of view. So it's fiction plus historical events, and she's the mother of Nicholas Khazar II, so the last Romanov, and she's the last empress. We see her going through marriage, going to heartbreak, to her story, to the power dynamics that we have. It's a book that I really endure in my heart. I really like the historical aspects. I really like the story about strong women, and I really enjoy the part where she's not only playing the game of just being the wife. She does play it, and she deals with it, and she has heartbreaks after breaks, and then the son coming to power. It was a very good read, and if you like historical context, this is a very good one, because it gives you details and gives you insight inside that time, which I really love it. Now, one of my first review here on the channel, and you can watch it, it's so cringy, but is My Grandmother Sends Her Regards and Apologies by Frederick Backman, or My Grandmother Says She's Sorry, depends on the edition. This is a story that make you bleed your eyes out on crying, because it's so hard, it's so cute, and it's so frustrating that, oh my god, it's so intense that it's a read and a must read for you. So we have Elsa, who has a grandmother who is a little bit crazy, like she said. They say it's crazy. Some people say she's eccentric. For Elsa, she's a superhero. She tells stories about being a motorcycle and things like that. She's a badass. But then, in the beginning, the grandmother died and left Elsa with a mission to send her regards and apologies to a lot of people and to protect the castle, and she doesn't know what that means, and she enlists a lot of help trying to discover what happened and try to send her regards and apologies from her grandmother, try to connect the building together. And then we start seeing some characters changing and some characters growing, and it's so heartbreak because you deal with the topic of death, of letting go, of forgiveness, of grief. So it's a very intense book. I will recommend this if you are able to cry, because if you say like I don't want to cry, don't pick this book, pick it later, because you will cry your eyes out. Now, I could not end the contemporary without one of my favorite authors, which is Jodi Picoult. I will recommend my favorite and her most recent one. So, my favorite is 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, and it is about a school shooting, bullying, sexual assault. And this is a book ban part of the book banning that is happening in America. So, if you want to pick a banning book, 90 Minutes is on the list. I love it because for me, as a victim of bullying growing up, it really touched me and showed me the difference what could happen. For me, as a victim of bullying, you have to, and I understand the idea of the school shooting here, because most people who suffer bullying ended up killing themselves because they believe what the aggressor and the bully said. In this point, we believe that it's part of the problem. They are the problem, so we eliminate them. But it's much more than that. We have a lot of different interesting stories here. We have twists on the story that we're not expecting. We have, like I said, a lot of hard topics here. It's a very hard read, but it's so important at this time to read and to share and to understand it, to make changes. So this is one of the best books I will recommend, and I hope some of you put it on your Christmas list to get it, because it's so deserved it. And then we got her new book, which is Mad Honey, co-written with Jennifer Finley Boylan, which is about a girl who died, who was killed, and then the boyfriend is accused to murder her. And we have this mother who suffered from domestic abuse, dealing with these consequences of her possible son being also an abuser. And it's about bees because she's a beekeeper, and we learn about other things about the girl's life and the boy's life that put in play during the court and during the trial, and then relationships that are toxic and that they are don't want to display why this is important in her life, because it's a point for me I think will be a spoiler but I think you should read it because it has amazing representation, has amazing storytelling. It shows a little bit of the side of a victim of domestic abuse, and it's just an amazing. I have a full review here, so it's definitely one of my recommendations for you. Now let's go to the last part, which is LGBTQIA reps, and this is male reps more or less, because it's the part of the genre that I read the most and what I like the most. So don't judge me on that, but it's 5 books that I love. Of them are very popular, 3 of them I wish they were more popular. So let's start with, if you liked Sailor Moon, if you want it to be more queer than it is, because it has some queer moments, but if you want to be totally queer, you got Magical Boy by The Cow. This is a story about a trans boy who discovers his inheritance as a magical girl, in this case boy, but mostly girls, because girls are trying to save the world of this goddess. And you see, he's transforming. So they have to embrace her goddess to try to save try to stop this demon and this world war that happens from time to time with all magical girls. And this is a story about acceptance, about coming out, about understanding, because what happened is there is a lot of transphobia and a lot of judgment here, and these are 2-volume graphic novel that explore that and explore this own sexuality and not sexual but own sexual identity, explore his own sexual identity, and to explore the suffering and the understanding of the parents, of friends, of colleagues, things like that, while trying to save the world as a magical boy, because he needs to stop the world to end. It was super fun. I love the first one. I got the first and the second. I read the second one as soon as it came out, and I got it. So I really recommend. I wish it was more popular and people talk about, because it's a great graphic novel to make people understand that trans people exist, they are valid, and should be more talked about, and there is no problem in being trans, and you will find always your community, and you will always find someone who will understand you and protect you. And if you want to be a magical boy, you can be a magical boy, which was always my dream growing up and falling in love with Sailor Moon, was to being a magical boy. If you want romances, I have romances for you. Let's start with What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. one of the booktube darlings of LGBTQ or male romance. It's about Ben and Arthur, who are Ben is from New York and Arthur is there for an internship, and they met in this post office while Ben is sending things to his ex, and they never see again, and then they try to find each other, and then they find each other, and then they fall in love, and then the summer ends, and you know, I love the first one. I didn't like the sequel. For me, it ended like that, and we just imagined things because the sequel didn't do any favors. So keep it to the first one. Trust me. Trust your body. You have the rent reviews and things down below, but trust me when I say you keep it to this story because it's cute, it's fluffy, and it's about discovering and understanding a little bit better. It has influences of ADHD and struggling with school. Also, Ben is Latin, so he has some Latin experiences, I believe. At least in the second one he has. I don't know if the first one he has, but I think so. And I really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite romances. Now, one that is a romance, but it's set in space. It's The Darkness Outside Us by Elliot Schaffner. This was also part of the Genre Soup Book Club pick, and we loved it. It's like super good. So we have this mission to go to this planet. I think it's Saturn or Titan, yes. And we have Ambrose and Kodiak. So they are from different republics. I would say like United States and Russia. Things like that. Like enemies, and they have each part of the ship for themselves, and they have to do tasks to rebuild the ship and to they don't communicate a lot, but then we start to communicate. They start to make friendship and falling in love, and then some twists happened. And you have to read it because it's more than just a romance story. It's survival in space, and it's amazing. It's like, could I say more? It's an amazing book. We all love it, and it was so good. It's the twists. I didn't saw it coming. When it twisted the first time, I was like, what? And then I twisted the second time, I was like, what? And then we revealed it, and I was like, what? So yeah, it's an amazing book to sci-fi plus gay romance plus survival in space. Chef's kiss. We go to one of my favorite romances from last year. I believe it was last year that I read it. I don't recall it. But is The Charm Offensive by Alison Cookranch. It's, or 2 years ago, I don't remember. But I think I have a review here, and it's about, I don't remember the names, but one of them worked on this as a producer or soundstage, thing like that, in television, on this, like bachelor type, Prince Charming show. And then we have this a millionaire who is very invited to come to help prepare the images, but then they fall in love because he's actually not straight and he's deal with anxiety. And then the audio producer, I don't know his name, but they start to fall in love, and it's a cute romance. But he also employs the sentiment of grieving, of letting go, of heartbreak, because I believe the producer of the show has some story and bad romance in it, so it's problematic. But also the other one, it deals with anxiety, and very deep, high anxiety, like and it was like this, and it was a wild ride, and it's such a cute romance, especially the end. It's go like, damn. And you have a lot of representation because I believe there are people who are pansexual, at least non-binary. There's a lot of things here, and one of my favorite romances, besides the last one, which we all know what it is, which is Red, White and Royal Blue, which got now on Amazon Prime, which I want the uncut version. I don't care if it has 5 hours, I will watch it because this book is my life. It was my first male romance ever. I listened, I liked it, and I loved it, and I couldn't recommend more. It's about the first son of the United States falling in love with the Prince of England, and they hate, and then they love, and then they break, and then they come back, and they are so cute together, and this is my life. Yeah, so here we go. Edit, if you haven't edit and watch the movie, or watch the movie, read it, because the book is better. It has a lot more scenes, and it makes a lot more sense how they fall in love. So here we go. You have tons of recommendations of different types to add to your bookmas list. I hope you guys enjoy. This is gonna be a long video, yes, because I have a lot of books. I didn't know how to cut it, and I talk a lot. So yeah, thank you. If you reached this far, I hope you did, but consider to leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, tell me in the comments if you wanna be interested in knowing more about these books, if you like this type of videos to add to our TBRs, because I love to add more books to your wish list. You're welcome if I give you good recommendations. Yeah, I post videos now with the event calendar till the 24th, but I post a lot, at least 3 times a week. I have reading sprints on Fridays if you want to join, and I have the book clubs down below if you want to join. The quarterly book club pick is live, so you must know what are we reading starting in January. So check it out if you want to see that, and I see you guys tomorrow for another video, okay? Bye.